Hi, this is Kristin Clark. I'm here with College Planning Untangled and with my co-host, Bobby Hood. We are here to help parents of high school students figure out how to get through this process and how to keep it super simple. So, Bobby, how are you doing this week?
Oh, I'm doing great. So I'm excited about today's show. Now, last time we had our first guest, and today we have our second guest. And so, I do a little bit and have done a little bit of college admissions consulting for my students over the years, but I've really only done a little bit of it because it's not my area of expertise. I prefer to stick to the actual test prep tutoring. And so who we're bringing on today is Deidra Fisher, who is the founder of OneUp College Consulting. And she is a former high school English teacher, and she taught IB, International Baccalaureate, and she's worked with students, all her life. And now she actually does college admissions all the time for a group of students, and she works with some of the students that I tutor. And so she has got some information that she's going to share with us today about what colleges are looking for in students. And so I'm super excited about this. And I hope that anyone who joins us today, please ask questions in the live chat. We will share those and ask questions of Deidra. And so I'm really excited about this. And I know it's something that fits in well with what you do, Kristin, as a strengths coach and helping students figure out where they're going to go. What are your thoughts?
Oh, it's always helpful to figure out what colleges are looking for, period, right?
Yeah.
And with Deidra's background, it'll be really exciting for our parents to hear what they need to be worried about and what they don't have to be worried about. I think that's the big thing. And as we've always talked about on this show, it's all about reducing stress around this process. So having just a checklist of things that colleges are looking for, who's not in? I think this is awesome.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Well, let's bring her on and let's get going on it. I'm excited.
Getting Deidra.
Hey, good afternoon. Thank you for having me, Kristin and Bobby. It's great to be here.
Great. Tell us more about OneUp College Consulting and your background.
My background, prior to going into education, I worked in management consulting. And so I worked as a writer and editor, project manager for kind of a boutique consulting agency in marketing and advertising communications. And then I went back to school. I decided I really wanted to kind of pursue a lifelong dream of being a teacher, a high school teacher. And so I went back, got my master's in education, and taught high school English at a school here in Dallas. And they have an International Baccalaureate program, which I'm a super big fan of. So I taught those students. I also taught AP seniors. So I have a background in helping getting juniors and seniors ready for college and all the things that entails. After a few years of teaching, I realized that there was really a need for essay consulting. And so that's kind of where my business started, was just helping students with essay development. And then from there, it grew into helping students, discover, are the best colleges for me to apply? How do I apply? What do colleges look for? And here I am.
That's really great. I know that, that's what a lot of students really have a hard time picking colleges. And I've heard, back when I guess a lot of us were in high school, you just sort of applied to, I don't know, the local state school and the local school that you could drive to, and maybe one or two others. And then now I hear about students applying to 13 or 15 different colleges and things like that. And so I know it's hard to narrow down. And then I just, I don't know how you help students, but I know that's important. But also, I know there's new information about what colleges are looking for and things like that can really help with this, right?
Absolutely. So I'm a part of a professional organization called Independent Educational Consultants Association. And what we do is provide kind of a national network, educational network for people in my industry that ensure that we're, adhering to ethical standards, and we are providing a consistent message and consistent education to students about getting into college and the whole college process. So we did a survey college advisors and admissions people across the country and came up with kind of a list of what we are hearing from college admissions officers about what they're looking for in students. So when they're reviewing an application file, particularly as you get into the more selective schools, say schools that accept less than 30% of their applicants, there are a number of things that they're going to be looking at. And a lot of colleges are moving into a more holistic review of an applicant's profile. And so there are certain, qualities that they're looking for. So there's more than 8, but I chose for our discussion today just to sort of talk about the top 8, what we see admission officers tell us when we visit campuses and when we talk to them about what they expect to see in an applicant profile. You ready for me to start listing them?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Well, I'm fascinated to know what this survey, I think of anything that the parents that, I'm talking to, this is the thing that they want to know, right? Is what are the things that, I don't know. I'm just thinking about that. All I know is there's all these myths of what everybody thinks you're supposed to put in the application, and it's a bunch of myths, right? Everybody thinks you need to list 10 activities, right? And that's just not true. You need to list 2 activities that you were in and took very seriously, right? And things like that, right?
Yeah.
Things that are one, right?
Right. If you have, if you are one of those kids who can balance a whole lot of activities in addition to all the other things, then you can list, as many as the Common App allows you to. But really, that's one of the things that college for is more passionate involvement in a few activities. So depth. So in terms of me, when I advise students, I'm like, don't go in and add all these clubs your junior year to your resume just so that you can say I was in this club or I was in that club, and all we did is have meetings. So colleges really want to see it.
Yeah. Don't list the clubs that you joined and then quit because you lost interest in them, right? They don't want to see that, right?
No,
and so that's
exactly.
The kind of thing to see, right? So yeah, tell us the things that you all found out.
Okay. Really, almost across the board, most colleges consistently say that they're looking for the 3 key, we call them sort of the 3-legged stool of what they evaluate when they're looking at a candidate. So the first thing, and probably the most important thing to most universities, is a rigorous high school curriculum. And so a student who is trying to get into, UT, for instance, who is not in the top 6%, should be pursuing a very rigorous curriculum. And what that means is whatever your college, if they offer IB or AP, you should be pushing yourself to take those courses as long as you can make an A or a B in them. Obviously, you don't want to take courses that you're not going to be able to get through. But they want to see that you're pushing yourself. And so I tell students as early as freshman year, you need to be planning a course selection that positions you to be able to take those AP classes and any prerequisites that are required in freshman and sophomore year. By the time you're junior and senior, you want to have taken those.
Absolutely. And just a note from the tutoring side, you have to take the associated AP course and you have to score a 4 or higher if you want them to consider that to give you credit for having the tough curriculum, right? Because if you don't take the AP course, they aren't going to count it as you having had a tough schedule. They will discount it and say, okay, that's just like taking an honors class or something.
Yeah, you need to, and many schools do require the student to take the exam as part of a requirement of being in the class. So you should absolutely, and then, you can report your scores on the Common App when you apply. You can report your scores. And then of course, AP classes also at certain schools can help you get out of, the entry-level course that you may be kind of bored and not want to take anyway, or buy you credits so that you have fewer credits to pay for. So I know, some take a lot of AP work. They get out a whole semester at many of their state colleges.
Oh, absolutely.
Anyway, rigorous curriculum is key. And so you don't want to escape through high school.
Yeah.
So that's probably the first thing. They're also going to be, as kind of related to that, they're also looking for a strong GPA in your major subjects. So colleges are really going to be paying attention primarily to, we call it, the 5 core. So it's foreign language, it's social sciences, math, physical and hard sciences, and English. And my recommendation to most of my students, those that are applying to those more selective schools, is that they follow kind of what I call the 5-4 plan, which is the 5 core classes all 4 years. And so even if you took, say, Algebra 1 in 8th grade, and you've met 4 years by the junior year, I still tell them you should be taking some kind of a math course the senior year.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are a lot of colleges you'll discover, and they'll say, "Where's your 4th math? Why didn't you have a 4th math?"
Yeah. And so like pre-calculus, anybody intending to go into a business program, I insist that they have a minimum of pre-calculus. Engineers and people like that need to have calculus, at least calculus AB, if not BC for the higher, more selective schools. So it's really, it is preferred that you challenge yourself with that rigorous curriculum and that you would make a B and an AP class than to just make A's all the way through in non-challenging coursework.
100%.
So that would be my recommendation. Okay. So the third thing that schools pay a lot of attention to, or many schools do, I should say, would be test scores. Okay. And Bobby, so obviously a lot about that, and that's your job, is to help kids get the highest score that they can. There is a trend with some schools to go test optional, but still most of the universities that my kids are applying to want to see the ACT or the SAT. You don't have to take both. They don't prefer one over the other. You can submit either one, will super score, and take a combination of different sittings, your best English section, your best math section over 2 different test registration dates. That all depends on the university, but you need to have your scores as high as they can be, and test prep is absolutely essential. It is not fun, I think, for most kids. They're busy, they don't want to do it. I preach it, and the sooner that they get started on that test preparation, the better, because they can then take their your ACT in the fall or the winter of junior year, assuming they've completed the appropriate courses that will be covered on those exams, and then they're done, and then they can start working on everything else. So early test preparation is key, as well as thorough test preparation.
Hey, Deidra, we have a question in the chat, and that is, what if our small private school doesn't offer AP classes? Carolyn wants to know, but they do have dual credit. What would you suggest for her?
So you will never, a school or college will not penalize a student who does not have the opportunity to take an AP or honors level course. If it's not offered at their school, that student is not going to be expected to have taken that. However, if there are opportunities for a student to pursue a more rigorous outside of class, like a dual credit, community college courses, maybe in a summer, finding a way to take AP classes online through like Texas Tech University or something like that, I would absolutely recommend doing that, just primarily because it demonstrates, intellectual curiosity and initiative.
Yeah, absolutely. So what you're saying there, Deidra, is if what colleges want is you to take the most rigorous available curriculum that you can handle and get good grades in, like B's or higher. Right.
Exactly.
And so and colleges, and this is what a lot of parents don't realize, is the colleges know exactly what curriculum is available at your high school. They have detailed notes about your high school and exactly how your high school grades. They know what your high school's grading scale is. You don't need to worry about that your high school has a 4.5 scale and other high schools have a 5.0. They recalculate your GPA themselves. They know all that stuff. And they know you don't have AP courses available. You just need to take the most rigorous thing available. And the other thing you said absolutely is that the test prep thing isn't fun necessarily, and that it is a requirement pretty much now, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people our age don't realize this at first, because we remember back when we were in high school, and a whole lot of people our age, when we were in high school, they just said,
that's it.
You took it, and then you got into you went to wherever you went, and it was no big deal. And a whole lot of people didn't do any prep.
Right.
And so that's part of what, like, I am actually, and this is something I'm going to be talking about on upcoming weeks, but I'm about to be kind of launching a thing where I'm going to start providing some free test prep videos for students who don't have financial access to test prep because it's expensive. And so I'm I'm working on a book with advice that's going to be affordable for students who can't afford tutoring and stuff. And I want there to be options out there for everybody, and we'll talk about this at the end, all three of us are always happy to answer questions from people. So
absolutely,
we're just giving an overview here of some things to think about, but all of these things, AP courses, all of that, as part of my tutoring, I can help students do better in their AP courses, even without you having to have me tutor you in AP courses. I can point you to materials that are low cost that can help you do better in your AP course without you having to do tutoring with me. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Part of what we're here to do is to make life easier for everybody, and to, as the title of this program is, College Planning Untangled. It doesn't have to be as tangled and confusing as it all is. And I think that's what you're talking about here, Deidra, is, there's three big things. Focus on these three things, right? And if you can focus on those three things, the college planning experience may be a little easier than it seems, right?
Right.
Because it seems so complicated. So once you think about those three things, what are the next things then?
I've got a question for Deidra.
Yeah.
And sorry, guys, I'm in a brewery trying to do this. So the life of an entrepreneur, here you go. But one of the questions that I have for you, Deidra, is I'm hearing a lot of, if you're trying to get into some of your tougher schools to get into, here's what you need. What about those kids that, UT isn't where they want to go, but or they know that it's going to be tough for them to get in? Can you talk a little bit too about the importance? I'm sure these things are still important, but you know what? Some kids don't know that they want to go to college, or don't think it's ed. Let me put it that way. Where they they might not have taken AP classes. They might not have gone to dual credit. How do they get in?
Right. So there's a lot of options. First of all, one thing I always tell students is there's a college for everybody. I have a nephew who is autistic and he's in college, so community college can be a great place for a lot of kids to start who maybe have not had a great academic road in high school, but they know they kind of need to sort of figure out something for higher ed. And I highly recommend a community college experience for students who just aren't certain. You can save a lot of money and save a lot of time and wasted energy. So that's one thing that I'll recommend for students who may have not had academic track record, is maybe do a year in community college and then transfer in. Many times, and some students who maybe want to get into, the UT system or the A&M system because they want to pay, in-state tuition, they can start at a satellite campus. If they can't get in, they can go to, at A&M in Galveston, or they could go to UTSA in San Antonio, or UT in Arlington. So there's many colleges who are not going to expect you to have, a 3.5 or better GPA or scores that are in the top 20% of all test takes. There's a lot of regional universities and things like that. So I think there's a lot of stress around this whole process. And I think we just need to make sure that students know there are many options for kids who are still trying to find their way.
Absolutely. This is something too that I saw in the Wall Street Journal on Sunday. There was an article that was titled, "It's Never Too Late to Start a New Brilliant Career." I think, it's never too late to start a brilliant career. And it was talking about how people in their 40s and 50s are starting new careers because they are finally later in life discovering their actual true talents. And of course, that related to me a lot because I spent all these years as an attorney and a CPA and doing things that weren't what my passion was. And then I found tutoring and started what I believe, is my true passion and a career that's really working well for me. And it makes me think about what Kristin does with helping students find their strengths and being a strength coach, and what you do as well, Deidra. And I think this relates, to the college admissions process, because if you don't know what your talent is, it has got to make the college admissions process a lot harder, because you're just I don't know, randomly picking places, like, and if you did know, like if you figured out that I would like to be a marine biologist, well, then the college admissions process changes a whole lot, right? And if you know that and so if you can start from that, I think that's something important just to think about, that doing a little starting inside yourself maybe is part of it. Is this something that, I know a lot of students, it's just impossible for them to actually narrow anything down, but how does that fit in at all into what you do, Deidra?
So what, in terms of, when you think about what colleges are looking for, many colleges and most college admission officers know that students who are 17 or 18 years old aren't necessarily certain of what they're going to do with the rest of their life. I am a huge fan of liberal arts colleges because they give you time to get a very disciplinary and cross-disciplinary education that can then be taken and applied in many different arenas from a career standpoint. And we all know people change careers numerous times today. Kids change their majors all the time. So I don't necessarily believe a student has to know what their major is going to be. There's a lot of other ways to assess where to, how to choose a college. And that's like a whole nother conversation, is how do I pick a good college for me, right? But But that's one of the things I do, is help students who don't have an idea of what they want to study. There are other ways that we look for colleges. Colleges really, when you're applying, they want to see that, you have a demonstrated interest in furthering your education. There's a section on essays that we can talk about, but essays is really sort of where you get to kind of talk about who you are, what you're interested in. And that is a real key part of this as well. So we can move on to that, or did that answer your question?
Well, absolutely. Well, see, I think that kind of relates to what I was sort of thinking about, Deidra, which is when you write an essay, one of the things, my understanding is, that college wants to know that you demonstrate interest in attending, right? That's one of the things they want to see.
Some schools care about that more than others. Some are like, everybody's interested in us, right? Like we can't keep up with all the people that want us, and so we don't. Other schools do, like American University in DC, they track demonstrated interest and they consider it to be very important. Yale, they don't care.
Right, of course. Yeah, absolutely. But like, for instance, if at the end of your essay you say, and this is why I want to go to, and this is why I will fit in well at Baylor University, and you accidentally include that last line on your essay to Texas Tech, that's probably not going to work really well, right? But a lot of times I've advised students, that part of one of your essays ought to be, I'm interested in this topic, and I went and looked, and this professor and this lab in this area is something I'm really excited about, going to this newly constructed lab and working with this professor. And then the student's like, well, I'm not sure I want to major in that. And I said, well, are you interested in that? Yes. Well, then that's true. You aren't committing yourself to actually studying that area by writing that essay, if it's true that you're interested in it. And so that's just an interesting thing that I thought about. And I just wondered if that's just an urban myth I heard, or just something that I think it's helpful. And also, by doing that research, I think it helps you find out more about the college, right?
Oh.
I think I'm.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Looks like you froze.
Yeah. So I think I'm tricking the student into doing some research at the college. Oh, and thank you, Carmen, for that comment. I appreciate it.
So the essay situation is probably what students would consider the most cumbersome part of the application, and for many colleges, it's a key component. The Common App has 7 prompts, and every student who's applying to a Common App school chooses one of those 7 prompts and writes a 650-word essay about. There's 7 different topics, and you can Google those and get that very easily. Apply Texas has a different set of prompts. And then there are typically, for many colleges, supplemental essays, which, Bobby, you mentioned the why do you want to go to this school? That's a common essay prompt. And you're right. You did, a great thing in coaching your students. You need to research things about the college that are compelling for you and that indicate why you would, show up there. So visiting, college visits are a great way to really understand more about the campus and to be able to address those questions in the format. So, I think essays give a student a really great opportunity, not just through the application process to, fulfill the requirements of the application, but I really use the essay as kind of a little bit of a soul searching experience, because they're very personal narrative essays. It's almost like you're writing a short story. It should not be something that is recounting all of your accomplishments, listing all of your activities, whatever. It's a story about who you are. The colleges are trying to get some context around your life. And some of the best essays I've read have been just sweet, interesting, endearing stories about a student's life and about a challenge they overcame. And so those are an important piece of the application, and they can really help for a student who's on the bubble of getting in or not getting in. A really solid essay that really makes you stand out amongst all the other applicants can kind of tip the scales for you. I'm not certain an essay unless your essay is super offensive or deals with some very politically incorrect topic and you're talking about it, they typically won't keep you out unless it's riddled with grammar errors. But a really good essay can help you. And the more selective the university, the better, and the higher caliber essay expectations they're going to have.
Absolutely.
So that's a real key piece of the puzzle. We already talked kind of about the passionate involvement in activities. That's another thing that we're seeing that colleges are looking at, particularly if an applicant pool is a lot of kids who are showing up similarly in terms of grades and test scores. They're looking for differentiation factors. So what are you doing? And, a common myth is that colleges are looking for well-rounded students. Well, that's not really true. What colleges are looking for is a well-rounded class. And so we want our musicians, we want our artists, we want our athletes, we want our, intellectual nerds, we want engineering, we want our people, we want our liberal arts people, be college professor people.
They want poets and oddballs and they want
everything.
all types.
What I love about what I'm hearing is you just let a lot of parents off the hook of trying to get their kid in everything.
Right.
Don't do it.
No, pursue your passions. Absolutely. Pursue your passions. You don't have to do everything, right? Pick your your three things that you love and do that, and don't quit them.
Exactly.
And do them. Yeah.
Exactly. And don't quit. I think that, colleges want to see that you stuck with them as much as you could. Now, if there's an extenuating factor, you were a big soccer player, then you tore out your ACL and you couldn't play, that's not a big deal.
Right.
But
no, of course.
Continued involvement is important. But yes, Kristin, you're right. So many parents think, we got to be involved in everything and we've got to have 20 activities. And that's just simply not the case.
Nope.
I will also add that leadership and, evolving from just a member of this club, like the freshman on the team, to a leadership position by your junior or senior year is something that is looked at. So if there is a way to get a leadership opportunity in one or two of the club's organizations, whatever you do outside of going to school every day, that's something that colleges value. So that can be something that kids can start to kind of look toward.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is amazing. Go ahead, Kristin.
One other question. I know we're getting close to the end of our time, but one question I have is this. When you're looking at a school and you have to have a certain SAT score, or ACT and a certain grade point average, and basically you're in, how important now is the essay? Is it as important, or can you, how much time do you still need to put into this?
If the school has automatic admission criteria, so you get this, or a lot of times they won't even ask for an essay if you meet that automatic admission criteria. Many students are applying to more than one school and several schools. It's rare that all the schools will have that kind of criteria. So if you have to write the essay well for one school, you might as well send it in and make, because you never know if that could open up opportunities for you to participate in an honors college experience, or maybe open you up for better merit aid, which is a whole financial aid and merit aid, a whole other conversation too. But, I always just say, do your best on everything that you do, and some schools, if they don't require an essay, good for you. You don't have to send one in, but there's almost every student is going to apply to at least one college where they have to write an essay.
Okay, and then Carmen has a question for you, and this is a really interesting question. So she has a kid that's in marching band, and her engineering teacher told her to quit band so she could focus more on engineering. What do you think of that?
Yeah,
she loves playing clarinet, and her engineering teacher says quit band now. That's interesting. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Deidra. What would you say?
I mean, I would not quit if she loves doing it and she's already been playing for 4 years. The band is a great organization in a high school to be involved with. As a general rule, the band kids are good kids, they're smart kids, and I would want my student to continue to be, in that group and throughout high school. There are ways to be more involved in engineering without leaving behind an entire activity. Maybe it's participating in a summer project or a summer opportunity, summer program where you can go do an engineering, internship or something like that. Or participating in a club that's not going to take up as much time. But I wouldn't recommend quitting.
Yeah, and Deidra, Carmen just added that she is first chair right now as a freshman. I mean, I think if you're first chair, you should not, absolutely not. And you can't only do academics. You need your passion. You've got to be in something, one or two things outside of academics that you're passionate about for 4 years. And yeah, she needs to stay in her passion. That's absolutely the answer. And then here's another question from Carolyn. And so Carolyn is saying her daughter, her dear daughter, has a neurological issue. And so she basically, her outside activity outside of school is church. And that for her neurological issue, she has a shadow at school. And so basically her only outside activity is going to be church internships and volunteering, as well as holding a student council officer position and having excellent grades. It sounds to me, Deidra, like that is like student council officer positions.
That's a big
and
deal.
Church. That's two activities. If you do that for 4 years, that is enough. That is two activities you got passionate about. Church counts, like church counts.
Yeah, it does.
It doesn't have to be a school activity. So absolutely 100%. That is. So you agree with that, Deidra? I think that's.
I do. And just to let you know, Carolyn, when your daughter applies to college via the Common App or Apply Texas or whatever platform she's using, there is a space called additional information, and you basically can write an explanation of any factors in your life that prohibited or prevented you from doing some things. So, there's a lot of kids who can't do a lot of extracurriculars. Maybe they have siblings they have to take care of after school because both parents work, or they don't have transportation, or they have, like you said, a learning issue or something like that. And that can be explained in the application and provide some context around maybe why your activities are fewer than some of the other applicants. So I would not worry about that.
Absolutely. These are wonderful, wonderful questions. And I'm so excited to have everyone joining us. And this is important things. And you can also, you can contact us with questions like this. I'm sure all of us would be happy to answer questions like this. So you can see our contact websites at the bottom of the screen. So my name is Bobby Hood. You can find me at bobbyhoodonlinetutoring.com. And Deidra, this has been amazing. And I think in the future, we will need to, do this again, because I think there's a lot more to be talking about.
A lot more. So, there's much to talk about. But great. Thank you all so much for having me.
Oh my gosh, this is great.
Thank you.
So everyone else want to kind of give you how you can be contacted?
Sure, Deidra?
Yeah, you can go to my website and all my information is there. I work with, students all over the DFW area. So if you have questions or want to visit, just reach out.
That's excellent. And I tutor students all over the nation online for the SAT and ACT and all sorts of other things. So you can contact me through my website by clicking the contact me form. And Kristin?
And you can find me at kristinclark.com. And I help students figure out a career path after high school so that you can go into college just confident that you know what you're wanting to do when you get out.
Well, this has just been so great. I'm so pleased. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your time at that brewery there.
Yeah,
Kristin,
no kidding.
That was fun.
That's a good place to go for lunch.
And I understand. So I think the next time we meet, Kristin,
Right.
are you going to be somewhere even more interesting? Is that right? Or is that
Bobby? No.
Yes.
So we were supposed to be in Rome.
Oh,
and
no.
found out yesterday that they program. Yeah. So my son's studying abroad.
Oh, of course, it was Rome, and because of because of coronavirus,
and he's coming home.
There's no way you're going to be able to go to Rome. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, that's so.
No, but I'm glad
I didn't even think about it. There's no way anybody can go to Rome right now. Oh, I'm so sorry. That's so sad.
But what's cool is he's getting to travel around Europe. He's going to be at Croatia and Istanbul, and no, not Istanbul. And he's going all over the place over there. Spain.
Oh, I'm so sorry, but yeah, that's life. But anyway, well,
I do have a commitment for next time we meet. So we'll be meeting in 2 weeks, and I've invited Jamelia Freelane, and she's going to be talking about community colleges.
Oh, excellent.
Great.
Oh, that's excellent. Yeah, there's so much to be talked about there. Okay, well, wonderful. Well, thanks everyone for joining us.
Everybody have a great day.
Have a great day.
Okay. Bye for now.